I wanted to share something I came across the other day, and just to give you some brief background in case you don't know, I was diagnosed with cancer in November 2025, and as you can imagine, having a diagnosis like that, it was like someone just chucked a grenade into my life, and I'm now trying to put the pieces back together. I know that those pieces won't be going back together in the same way. They will be different. And that doesn't mean that different is worse, but certainly it's different. Yesterday I was setting up my Substack. So I do have a website where I put my blog posts, but I also thought I would put the blog posts on a Substack so that people, if you want to subscribe to me over there onto my Substack and get posts over there, you can do. So I was setting that up, and I was following a few people that I know in the occult space. I don't know them personally, by the way, it's just I know of them. And one of them posted a video from the latest Occulture conference by someone called Tom Banger. I had never heard of him before. I had no idea what this talk was about. I just saw the photo of the speaker and this poster who'd posted on Substack, and I clicked on the link to go and watch the video. I'll put a link to the video in the description. The title was Tom Banger, Gliomancy, Acknowledging and Resisting the Proximity of Thanatos. The talk was Tom speaking about his diagnosis of brain cancer and his very deliberate decision to engage with that diagnosis in a certain way, so that it was less about him being done to by medical professionals. And that's not that he was disparaging medical professionals or that he was not grateful for their input, but I think what I gleaned from it is that he wanted to be involved in the process, not just a passive recipient of it. It was an amazing talk because he'd got consent from the medical professionals to have photos taken of his procedure on his brain. I think he did actually ask if they could film it, but I don't think they would, but they did take pictures. He had many staples put in the side of his head from the operation, and when they were removed, he asked if he could keep them. He made something wearable out of those staples. At the end of his talk, he asked for the audience to participate. It was like a mantra, and it was a reclaiming in a way. That's how I saw it. It was a series of I own statements. So I'll give him some examples. I own this moment. I own this future. I own this consciousness. I own this sorrow. I own this fear. I own this uncertainty. And at the end of each group of these mantras, he ended them with, and I let it go. As I watched it, I really felt the power of that. He talked about the Stoics and courage in the face of adversity, and also at the same time not denying your emotions about a situation. And this doesn't have to just be about medical diagnoses, serious health issues. This could be about any challenging situation that we have, to be able to acknowledge those fears. You own it, it's yours. Your fear, your sorrow, your grief, your pain, your sense of loss, owning it, and then you let it go. You don't let it define you. What a magical way of turning such a difficult, mentally and physically difficult situation into something transformative. There's something alchemical about that I think Tom is doing, especially taking some of the materials that have been used in his treatment and taking them back for himself and using them as almost like talismans of a kind, wearing them proud, like this is me, this is where I'm at, this is what I'm going through. And that really has inspired me to think about my own diagnosis and how I can take elements of it and turn them into art for myself, whether that is to use them in magical contexts or whether it is to use them as a way of processing my diagnosis. And so I wanted to offer you some ways of transforming really difficult situations in ways that they're not denying it, but they're not defining you. So the first way is to own your feelings. I've had so many different feelings since I was diagnosed. The initial one was I was just numb. I don't think I was consciously in denial, but I don't think it had sunk in, even though I had suspected that it was cancer. And then to have it confirmed, there was this mixture of relief in terms of, right, I know what's happening and I know they're going to treat me. But at the same time, I was like, I've got cancer. Shit, you know? And so I was in this weird place of being aware that that's what was going on. But I think I was almost expecting, well, should I not be feeling something stronger at this point? And then I'd have these really strong, almost like punches of anxiety about, I don't want to die. I thought me and my husband were going to get old together, grow old together. And I was so scared that that wasn't going to happen. And logically, I know that without cancer, that may not happen. It's not just cancer that can take us from this world. And the worst thing I think that we can do is really deny what we're feeling and try and push those feelings away. Whereas I think if we own those feelings, accept that that's what's coming up for us in that moment, I think we struggle less with it. If we decide to let go of the struggle and allow those feelings to be there, I think we suffer less. So this next one is to not be defined by your diagnosis or your situation, whatever that is. And it's a really weird one as well, because I don't want to be defined by my diagnosis. I don't want to be tiptoed around, but at the same time, I don't want people to just forget. Because I think people can often see that if someone's had their treatment and maybe now things are starting to get back to quote unquote normal, people just think, oh, that's it. It's done. It's over. We don't have to think about it anymore. And maybe they don't, because they've got their own lives to get on with. But I'm going to be having surveillance scans for the rest of my life to make sure this thing doesn't spread. So it's a part of me, but it's not all of me. When you're going through something really difficult, you're consumed by it. It feels like that's all there is. And then hopefully as the dust settles a bit, you realise that that is not all there is to life. There is more to you than that. And I personally think it needs to be a decision then to not be defined by it, because I think it would be all too easy to get or to allow yourself to be consumed by it all the time to the point that you lose a sense of who you are. And I think significant life events can perhaps redefine who we are to ourselves. And so maybe part of it is also spending time thinking about who you are now. You're probably not going to be the same person. It's going to change you in some way. And not always for the worse. It could be for the better. Have your values changed? In what ways do you want to live your life that were different to how they were before? So me, for example, I am now of the opinion that I need to stop putting things off. If I want to do something, I need to stop saying, oh yeah, I'll do that at some point, and go out and do it. If I've got the means to do it, go out and do it. Stop faffing around, because we only get one shot at this. Well, depending on what your belief is, but I believe I only get one shot at this in terms of who I am in this body right now, because one day I won't be able to do them anymore. The next idea I've had about how to transform difficult, life-changing situations is to make art out of them. I'm really inspired with what Tom Banger did. And even if you don't have items like Tom did, Tom had items from his treatment, even if you don't have things like that, you might have other ways of making art. You might want to write a poem or write some music. I did a collage where I cut out a picture that particularly resonated with me, cut out words that resonated, and then I wrote next to these words what that meant in the context of my diagnosis. Again, it's not going to win any awards. I'm not making art to win awards or sell it. It's for me. It's helping me to process what's going on. You might want to create a spell, do a magical ritual out of your experience, whether that is to send yourself healing, whether it's to help you let go of certain feelings that aren't serving you anymore. You're only limited by your own imagination. The next thing I think is to make a mindset shift. Our minds are really powerful. I'm a psychologist. This is my bread and butter. I know that the things we believe, the way we think about things can have a big impact on how we choose to live our lives and what actions we choose to take. So the view that you have of this event will have a big impact on what you do in response to it. Tom Banger quotes the Stoics in his presentation. And there was a Stoic called Epictetus, who was, I believe he was actually a slave. And one quote that is attributed to him is, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." We can transform destabilizing events into things that can make us better people. Because things like therapy, you don't need to have therapy, of course, but going through the process of therapy, it can help you turn a really significant life event. You can transform yourself by thinking differently about it. You can harness the power of psychological magic, of mind magic, to think differently about it, to in turn change what you do about it, and therefore potentially change the course of your life. Help you engage with life on a fuller level, to help you add more meaning and purpose in your life than might have been there before. Doing the things that actually bring you joy, whether that is art, whether it's being out in nature, whether it's spending more time with the people that you really care about, rather than getting caught up in the noise of the internet that I think it just distracts us from what really matters. And so even in times of huge disruption, of devastation, us human beings have huge capacity for transformation. And I just wanted to share that with you today, coming from that inspirational talk by Tom Banger. I hope this video finds you well, and I'll speak to you soon.